So Muktinatha is a very ancient shrine, which has been one of the oldest temple shrine, and in the same time on the highest altitude on this entire earth. Muktinatha is higher than Badrinath. Badrinath is only 3,500, I think, or 3,300 over sea level, and Muktinatha is 3,800. And also the area where Shaligrams are found up to Damodar Kund, which is very close to the Tibetan border, which is on the shadow of Damodar Himal, which is a big mountain, falls on that place. And the Damodar Kund, it's like a swampy area where they said that the river had been come up from that swamp. And there's a very interesting mountain walker by the name Bruno Baumann. He has been to that area, Mustang, and has also searched for that source. Like, he's a German also, so like all these Germans doing research. So he is one of the first who had searched for the real source of Kali Gandaki. Because after Muktinatha, you pass Kagbeni and you have to cross over the mountain, go to the right side to Muktinatha, and you go forward and follow the stream, or they say the riverbed, which is vast, which is like almost 1.5 kilometers, 2 kilometers wide sometimes, and that goes like a big gorge to the huge mountain area. On each side, like Annapurna 4 and Annapurna 5, and those big mountains which are up 6,000 to 7,000 meters high. It's like the deepest valley on earth, you could say. And so when you follow that, then many splitting up in many streams, and there are like 7 to, I think in that Muktinath Mahatmya it's mentioned, I think 7 springs had be the source of Kali Gandaki. And so to say that, I think in the time when the Puranas were written, this is my imagination, but it could be a possible way to explain why Bunu Baumann had found a different source for Kali Gandaki, because he went up to Lomantang. When you follow the Muktinath, the stream of Kali Gandaki, there it ends up into one very small water channel, which goes right into a massive ice glacier, and that from that ice glacier a big stream of water comes out, and Bruno Baumann considered this to be the source. But the ancient description of of Gandaki itself, it mentioned that Damodar Kund has been the source. And when you have been there and seen it, it is there's a few lakes in the whole area. Especially in summertime, you can only go there. It's quite swampy, that area around, and it freezes in the night because sometimes even we have been there in June. So in the night it was freezing cold, below 0, and most probably around 10 to 12 minus degrees, and it was like freezing outside. But then as soon as the sun had come up around, I would say 10 o'clock. So the sun had come up 10 o'clock and just stayed there for a short. Anyhow, but it's melted the ice, and and this area is like fully infested with water, with a water body. And when you look below there is the riverbed of one of the stream, which has been identified to be also this source. So to the earth changing its appearance, I would say the water spring had shifted to a different area. The water had become from Lomantang maybe more stronger. So from our perspective of the 21st century, that source of Kali Gandaki might be from from the level of water be a different one, which is more further north. But we as spiritualists, we consider Damodar Kund to be the source of Kali Gandaki, because the most Shaligrams are found there. And it is also interesting for you, once you plan to visit that place, it takes you up to 5 to 6 or 7 days to do a walk from Muktinatha itself to reach that place, Damodar Kund. And in Damodar Kund, it is not that the Shaligrams inside the pond, but the Shaligrams can be found anywhere around in the ground. And this is also, I wanted to say that Shaligrams, there are two types, Jalastan and Bhumistan, which comes from the ground. You find them from the ground, and those Shaligrams you find in the ground are more roughly formed, and they are considered to be worshipped by rishis, where the Shaligrams from the water itself are more worshipable for the people who are grihastas, who are having family and have to maintain their livelihood. And so the worship by a rishi or by a saint or by a ascetic is different, described in the Shaligram Lakshana books, to see that. Yeah. So Damodar Kund itself we consider to be still the source of Kali Gandaki, and you walk in that area, it is a lot of caves there. In that caves a lot of paintings, and as we say, you could see the tradition has been shifted from Vaishnavism or Hinduism, or how we say Vedic worship, to more a Buddhist thing. So even in Muktinatha, the Murti itself is considered to be Avalokiteshvara by the Buddhists, and they worship him, and like that. And one of the Mahasiddhas, Padmasambhava, who has been a tantric, who have been traveled from Kashmir, from Uttarakhand area to Tibet, and finally helped to develop tantric Buddhism in Tibet, has been passed by Muktinatha, and he has been stayed there with one of his disciple groups. You could say 64 siddhas are there, and those 64 siddhas has left their dandas in that area, and there have been grown a big forest nearby. Even of the altitude of 3,500 meters, you find greenery, rice fields, not rice fields, but paddy fields type of, and trees. And those trees are saying they're like the leftovers from those siddhas who had come and visited along with Padmasambhava. So the worship of Muktinatha and along the path towards Damodar Kund, it's how you say, a transgressional through Vaishnavism, Hinduism type of Buddhism thing. So for every Vishnu form, you will have a Buddhist opposite devata with Tibetan name, and the mantras even are very similar, but more in the Tibetan language. So these caves you find there, you have to climb up the mountains and do a little bit research, but I think it's all illegal, and it's also dangerous because those caves are not easy to reach, and you have to be very careful and walking to that caves, because they are high in steam on very high altitude, and better you focus on going to Damodar Kund and just get astray with those caves. But I think it is a good research to which is still left for generations to come, because once upon a time it has been a big pilgrimage route between Tibet and Nepal, India, and the salt was transported from those area towards China, and all the spices have been changed, and it had all gone to this Annapurna valley. Yeah, so that's just shortly to Muktinatha, but Yeah, one thing I forgot is one of the 108 Divedeshas. There are 106 Divedeshas on this area, on the earth, and Muktinath is one of them, and it's also in the list of the Swayamvyakta Kshetras, which are eight different Swayamvyakta Kshetras, means where God has manifested himself in this world to his own sweet will, like in the form of a lake, like in Pushkar, or in the forest of Naimisharanya, or even as a stone in Muktinatha Ksetra. And Muktinatha Ksetra, as I mentioned, Ram Mohan Brahmachari, who has been a great ascetic who lived there in that area, has written a particular guidebook, and which is published in the 1920s. Most probably he had also the famous yoga teacher Krishnamacharya had visited Salagram Kshetra and not Kailash, because as a Vaishnava we would travel to Muktinath then instead of going to Kailash. Yeah, so it's not only the place which is Swayambhu, means self-manifested out of his own sweet will, but also the Shaligrams are Swayambhu. And the moti of Shaligram itself, or Muktinath, it is considered to be so pure that it doesn't need to be a pratishta there. There's no Kumbha Abhishekam, no prana pratishthan to be done on that moti, because he himself is self-manifested out of a sweet will. Vishnu has appeared there, and he will never be leaving this place. Therefore, these mountains in the backside of Muktinath, it's considered to be Vishnu himself. Okay, thank you very much. Jai Srimad Narayana.